What did your child say in court that saved someone's life? My 8-year-old daughter Hazel was the only witness to the accident. She'd been looking out the window of our ice cream shop when Mrs. Rodriguez's car struck a jogger in the crosswalk. The jogger survived but barely, and Mrs. Rodriguez faced vehicular assault charges that could mean 20 years in prison. The prosecution painted Mrs. Rodriguez as reckless, speeding through a crosswalk in broad daylight. They had physical evidence: skid marks, the jogger's injuries, the damaged car. Mrs. Rodriguez insisted she'd had a green light, that the jogger had run into traffic, but without witnesses. It was her word against an unconscious victim's silence. I hadn't wanted Hazel involved. She'd been traumatized seeing the accident, had nightmares for weeks. But when Mrs. Rodriguez's lawyer learned there'd been a child witness, he begged me to let her testify. Mrs. Rodriguez was a widow with 3 kids, facing prison for something she swore was an accident. The day of testimony arrived. Hazel wore her favorite purple dress, the one with stars on it. She'd insisted on bringing her stuffed rabbit for courage. The judge, a grandmother herself, allowed it. Hazel, the prosecutor began gently. Can you tell us what you saw? Hazel nodded, clutching her rabbit. The car hit the running man. Was the car going fast? I don't know about fast, but it was trying to stop. The prosecutor looked confused. How do you know it was trying to stop? This is when everything changed. Hazel said something that hadn't been in any report. Because the car was screaming. Screaming? The brakes. They were screaming really loud, like when Daddy's car made that sound before it broke. The defense attorney stood up. Your Honor, this introduces new evidence about potential brake failure. The prosecutor tried to continue. Hazel, did you see the traffic light? Yes. What color was it for Mrs. Rodriguez? Hazel scrunched her face, thinking hard. Green. I remember because I was practicing colors with Mama, and I said green means go right before it happened. Are you sure? Hazel did something unexpected then. She turned to the judge. Can I show you something? The judge nodded. Hazel pulled out her little notebook, the one she drew in constantly. I draw what I see when it's important. Mama says it helps me remember. She opened to a page dated the day of the accident. A child's drawing but clear. A green circle at the top. A car with motion lines showing it trying to stop. A figure running from the side. But the crucial detail was something else in the drawing. Another person, behind the jogger, who no one had mentioned. Who's this? The judge asked, pointing to the second figure. The man who pushed him, Hazel said simply. The courtroom exploded. The prosecutor objected. The defense attorney jumped up. The judge called for order. Hazel, the judge said carefully, tell us about the man who pushed. The running man was on the sidewalk. Another man came up behind him and pushed him into the street. Then he ran away. Mrs. Rodriguez tried to stop but couldn't. Why didn't you mention this before? Nobody asked about the pushing man. They only asked about the car and the running man. The police pulled security footage from nearby buildings they'd previously thought irrelevant. There, grainy but visible, was a figure approaching the jogger from behind, a clear pushing motion, then fleeing the scene. The jogger, who'd recovered enough to communicate, was shown the footage. He broke down crying. The pushing man was his business partner who'd been embezzling from their company. The jogger had confronted him that morning about missing funds. The partner had followed him on his jog and tried to kill him. Mrs. Rodriguez was immediately cleared. The real perpetrator was arrested at the airport trying to flee the country. Hazel's testimony had not only saved Mrs. Rodriguez from prison, but had uncovered an attempted murder. But the most profound moment came after court. Mrs. Rodriguez knelt down to Hazel's level, tears streaming down her face. You saved my life, sweet girl. My children won't lose their mama because of you. Hazel, still holding her rabbit, said, I just drew what I saw. Mama says always tell the truth, even if grown-ups forget to ask the right questions. The judge later said it was the most important child testimony she'd ever heard. Not because Hazel was especially articulate or mature, but because she'd noticed what adults had missed. Sometimes the most important detail isn't the obvious one. The jogger fully recovered and testified at his partner's trial. He credited Hazel with saving both his life and Mrs. Rodriguez's freedom. The partner got 25 to life for attempted murder. Hazel still draws everything important. We've enrolled her in art classes, and her teacher says she has an exceptional eye for detail. She wants to be a courtroom artist when she grows up, to help people remember the truth.